3 sinister true stories of haunted Halloween nights revealed, terrifying secrets exposed. The Thompsons were excited about Halloween in Maplewood, a suburban haven where laughter hid dark shadows. They settled into their new home, unaware that beneath the town's cheerful facade lay whispers of terror. As the season shifted from crisp autumn air to the spine-chilling night of October 31st, the atmosphere thickened with anticipation and dread. Townsfolk shared hushed legends, strange happenings, spirits wandering free, and curses that clawed at the unsuspecting. Halloween in Maplewood wasn't just a celebration, it was a gateway to something sinister. 8-year-old Emma Thompson, with her bright eyes gleaming with curiosity, was drawn to the abandoned mansion at the end of Maple Street. Many adults avoided it, giving the eerie structure a wide berth. Its cracked windows and gnarled trees begged for attention, calling to her with a siren's song. What if it has ghosts? She mused aloud, excitement mingling with fear. Her protective older brother Jake, aged 15, felt a chill race down his spine each time he glanced at the house. Mr. Grant, their seemingly cheery neighbor, watched them with unsettling intensity, his smile masking something darker. Jake felt the spark of danger simmering beneath Mr. Grant's friendly veneer. As night descended like a heavy curtain, the air buzzed with laughter and the scent of sugary treats. The Thompsons prepared, hoping for a night filled with joy. Just as they saw their neighbors beginning to don costumes and hand out candy, Emma's wide eyes locked onto the mansion. "I swear, I saw a ghost behind the curtains," she exclaimed, her voice a mix of heroism and childish fear. They laughed it off, but the tension hung heavily between them like thick fog. Subtle whispers crawled from the surrounding woods, words mingled with the rustling leaves. It wasn't the joyous spirit of Halloween the Thompsons felt. Their laughter twisted into unease, shadows stretching and twisting as Jake's heart raced. Desperate, they turned to the neighborhood police, hoping for reassurance. Instead, they were met with laughter. "Just Halloween jitters, kids," grinned an officer, his badge glinting under the streetlights. "Nothing to worry about." Jake clenched his fists, feeling like their cries for help were swallowed by the cheerful facade of Maplewood. He could only think of their old neighborhood, where worry was met with action, not condescension. Suddenly, the power flickered and plunged them into darkness. The warmth of their home turned cold. Shadows danced on the walls, warped and grotesque. Laughter from trick-or-treaters melted into sinister cackles that echoed in their minds. Emma clung to Jake, her heart pounding with fear. The footsteps echoed in the walls, soft but growing louder. As the clock struck 8, silence blanketed Maplewood. The Thompsons huddled together, hearts racing. The darkness outside shifted, figures with monstrous masks lurked just out of sight, waiting. A sharp knock shattered the stillness, too heavy for a friendly visitor. Jake's gaze darted toward Mr. Grant's house, where a shadow loomed, larger than life. Just as he opened his mouth to whisper a warning, a scream pierced the night, chilling them to the bone and revealing the true horror of their home. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The tension in the room thickened, the darkness coiling around them like a serpent, waiting to strike. In the silence, the reality set in. They might have stepped into a world where Halloween was more than just ghosts and goblins. A darkness loomed in their backyard, feeding off their terror, and the Thompsons were trapped in its embrace, surrounded by the very community they had wanted to embrace. What truths would Halloween reveal about Maplewood? Would they survive the night? The scream echoed through the Thompsons' home, piercing the bubble of their world and dragging them deeper into an abyss of dread. Jake's stomach twisted, heart pounding so loud that it drowned out the quiet rustling of the leaves outside. What was that? Emma whimpered, her small body trembling against him, her grip tightening. Before Jake could respond, the knock came again, louder this time. A third strike followed, reverberating through the house like thunder. Their breaths were shallow and frantic. Light flickered in the gaps of the drawn curtains, illuminating the terror etched on their faces. "Stay here," Jake whispered, heart racing as he moved toward the darkened hallway. It felt like stepping into a nightmare where even the air turned heavy and stale. He could hear his mother's reassuring voice in the back of his mind, telling him about being brave, but nothing could prepare him for what lay ahead. He edged toward the front door, each creak of the floorboards underfoot sending foreboding chills through his spine. One more knock, followed by a raspy breath that slithered through the cracks of their front door, made him freeze. Jake turned to check on Emma. She was ducked under the kitchen table, her eyes wide and glimmering with tears. The chilling sight of her fear ignited a flame of determination within him. "Just a minute," he called out, trying to steady his quaking voice. There was no response. Just silence. Has the whole neighborhood gone silent? He reached for the door handle, feeling its coldness seep into his bone. With a swift push, he opened the door slightly, peering into the eerie abyss of night. Nothing. Just darkness, thick and suffocating, like a fog that swallowed sounds and shapes. He squinted, attempting to discern any figures that might linger just beyond the threshold. "Hello?" he called out, a thin thread of false confidence weaving through his words. No reply. The emptiness felt alive, as if it were watching him, waiting for a moment of weakness. He pushed the door wider, intent on seeing the world beyond the safety of home, and then he saw them. Shadows, darker than the night itself, flickering at the edge of the yard. They morphed and twisted, drifting in and out of view, ghost-like figures draped in tattered costumes that mocked the playful spirit of Halloween. The sight made him shiver as he recalled the tales of the townsfolk. "Jake! Close the door." Emma's voice shook as she crawled out from under the table. He looked back, panic sizzling at the tips of his fingers. She was right, the creatures were moving closer, 1, 2, 3 silent apparitions edging forward with deliberate slowness. Just as Jake stepped back to slam the door shut, a hand shot out from the darkness, fingers curled like claws, dirty and cracked. It grasped the edge of the door, pulling with terrifying strength. The darkness erupted around them, and he stumbled backward, heart racing as the hand slipped through the threshold. "Run!" he shouted as the lights flickered again, casting fleeting glimpses of twisted faces. Emma didn't hesitate. She darted for the stairs, her little feet pounding against the wooden steps. Jake followed, the adrenaline coursing through him as he heard the door groan under the relentless tug of whatever was outside. They reached the second floor, the heavy thud of their hearts mingling with the relentless force against the door. "What do we do?" Emma cried out. Jake turned, breathless, trying to devise a plan. "We hide, we've got to stay quiet." He darted into the nearest room, shoving Emma in before him. As they crouched behind the bed, silence fell heavy around them, punctuated only by the muffled sounds of chaos downstairs. Suddenly, a whisper slid through the crack beneath the door, chilling Jake to the core. "Come out and play." The dread coiled tighter, squeezing every thought from his mind. Who or what was out there? And what did they want? Entering these shadows, they had crossed an unseen line, and now, as the walls themselves seemed to close in around them, they were left to ponder what horror. Halloween had truly awakened in Maplewood. With a cold sweat trickling down his back, Jake clenched Emma's hand. What lay ahead for them in the darkness? Would they ever unravel the mysteries hidden in their new neighborhood? The floor creaked beneath their weight as Jake pressed his back against the wall. He could feel Emma's small, trembling body next to him, her frail breaths hitching sporadically in the stifling silence. The darkness crowded in on them, as if it were a living thing, binding them tighter within its grasp. "Jake," Emma whispered, her voice barely a breath, "what if they find us?" "They won't," he replied, though doubt gnawed at him. A distant crash echoed from below, followed by a low, guttural laugh that was not of this world. His heart raced again, an urgent drumbeat that drowned out all logic. What if hiding wasn't enough? The whisper returned, slithering under the door like smoke. Come out and play, he shivered, instinctively squeezing Emma's frail hand. We need to come up with a plan, he said, his voice steadier than he felt. The shadows outside their refuge seemed to sway, absorbing every sound, every flicker of light that might betray their presence. A commotion downstairs, mixed with more sinister laughter, raised the hairs on the back of his neck. Did you hear that? Jake asked, peering through a crack in the door. He could almost see the shifting shapes moving purposefully through the dimness of the hallway, the shadows bending and twisting in unnatural ways. They're looking for us, Emma's cheeks glistened with tears. I don't want to play anymore. Jake's heart ached. All the tales of Halloween and friendly costumes felt miles away now, they were submerged in a night where safety had become a fleeting memory. We have to stay quiet, he reminded her, though the fear pulsed louder than his words. The distant clatter of toys crashing to the ground pierced the air, an echoes revealing the madness that had taken over their home. A part of Jake wanted to leap from their hiding spot, to run through the eerie hallways and fight off the darkness. But the grip of terror held him fast. Suddenly, a soft tapping sounded on their door. It was slow and deliberate, like a spider weaving its web. We know you're in there, come out, come out. Jake felt bile rise in his throat. What twisted being was using his home as a playground? They would have to make a move soon, or whatever was out there would find them. The tapping escalated, becoming a wild, frantic scratching. Then, a voice emerged from the shadows, surprisingly sweet and almost inviting. We just want to play, little ones. Don't you want to have fun? No. Emma shrieked, instantly covering her mouth in horror. Jake shot her a frantic look, weighing their options. He looked past the bed where they huddled, toward the small window. Was it high enough to jump from? Would it lead them to safety or more terror? Stay here, he commanded, though it sounded weak even to his ears. He had to know what they faced as he peered through the curtain. A group of figures, their faces obscured by masks that glowed in the moonlight, danced in the yard below like marionettes on strings. They swayed eerily, and with every movement, a haunting chant rose and fell, beckoning him closer. Come play with us, come play. It felt wrong, unnatural. He felt a fierce wave of protectiveness for Emma, his role as big brother surging within him. We have to find a way out now, he decided, adrenaline kicking in. As he moved toward the window, something cold brushed against his back. The sensation ripped through him like ice. He turned to find the door wide open, despite their effort to keep it shut. Empty shadows loomed in the entryway, expanding. Jake! Emma cried, panic playing on her face. Before he could react, the figures rushed toward them from the hallway, features forming into grotesque smiles. The children's voices blended eerily with their laughter, filling the air with a sound so horrific that it stole the breath from his lungs. He grasped Emma's arm, prepared to run. To the window. We need to go. Now. But the shadows encroached, weaving closer, their grasp unyielding. They were trapped between two worlds, the sanctuary of the bedroom and the nightmare lurking beyond. Help us, come play. Their voices echoed in unison, drawing nearer. Jake's heart plunged as he tugged on Emma's arm, desperate to escape. Would they ever make it out of Maplewood, or would they become part of its haunting legends? The room shuddered with an otherworldly force, and at that moment, all hope hung by a thread. What waited for them beyond the bedroom door? They rushed toward the window, but the shadows lunged forward, wrapping around Jake and Emma like cold, grasping fingers. Each movement, each frantic tug, only seemed to strengthen their hold. Fear surged through Jake like a tidal wave. He had to break free. Emma, hold on tight. The words slipped through his lips just as a shrill cackle echoed through the air. The figures were almost upon them, drawn by their panic, relishing the fear that spurred their movements. He kicked at the shadows, desperate to shake them off. "Let us go. We're not playing." The flickering candlelight from a forgotten nightstand cast dancing shapes on the walls, making the shadows writhe more menacingly, reflecting an unspeakable hunger. Come out," they chanted, their voices an unnerving harmony, each syllable dripping with malice. "We just want to play." With a surge of adrenaline, Jake pushed against the wall and sprinted toward the window, dragging Emma along with him. He could feel her heart racing against him, both of them alive with raw fear. They reached the window, and Jake slammed it open with a crash that shattered the fragile silence, ripping the curtain asunder. Cold night air blasted through, tinged with the scent of damp earth. He hesitated for just a moment, looking out into the abyss that lay below. It was a drop. But it was better than facing what lingered behind them. "We can do this, Emma. Trust me." I can't." Her voice wobbled, cracking under the weight of dread. "Just jump." He insisted, the urgency of their situation pushing him forward. He climbed halfway out, grasping for the ledge, his legs swinging wildly. "I'm right here. I swear I won't let go." With a final glance over his shoulder, he saw them. Faces, twisted and peculiar, emerged from the shadows, mouths stretching wide into disturbingly joyful grins. Their eyes glowed like dying coals, reflecting the torment they struck into his heart. Jake felt terror pull him back, a sickening tug that warned him of the horror they invited. Yet he couldn't allow fear to win. Summoning every ounce of courage, he launched himself out of the window into the darkness below. The ground rushed up, the world blurring into a haze of shapes and sounds. He hit the grass hard, the shock jolting through him, but he didn't stop. He scrambled up, scanning for Emma. "Come on. Jump." She peered hesitantly out of the window, terror painted across her face. "Jake. I'm scared." "Don't think. Just jump," he yelled, his voice cracking under the tension. And then, as if the weight of their desperation had shattered something deep inside her, she leapt. The moment felt suspended, heavy with dread and hope. Jake reached out, catching her as she tumbled into his arms. They both hit the ground, rolling together, urgency pulling them into motion, but as they lay there panting, Jake didn't dare look back at their former sanctuary. Was it over? Was the nightmare behind them, or would it follow them, relentless and hungry? He sprang to his feet, pulling Emma up with him. In the moonlit chaos, shadows twisted grotesquely, and the soft chanting continued, now hauntingly distant yet chilling. "Come back, come play." Jake led Emma through the yard, dodging the clawing tendrils of darkness that seemed to rise up from the earth. But just as they cleared the porch, something caught Jake's eye. A small pumpkin sat half hidden beneath a bush, but it turned to stare at him, its carved face twitching with an unsettling life of its own. "Jake! We have to keep running." Emma tugged at her brother's arm, urging him ahead. Then it happened. Laughter erupted from the shadows, a sound both enchanting and dreadful. The figures that had chased them appeared in swarming currents, circling around the yard, drawn to their defiance. "Come back, play with us." As Jake stumbled through the yard, he could feel the laughter turning sharp, the sweetness of their tone twisted into a blade of malice. What lay ahead of them? Would they outrun it? Would whatever haunted Maplewood finally claim them? He realized as he moved, their escape might just lead them into a greater darkness, the kind that did not let go easily. "Emma." He tightened his grip around her hand, racing toward the street, but the laughter grew louder, echoing in his mind. The weight of dread drew them back, and they weren't just running from the darkness, they were about to confront something far worse. Something that had watched them for far too long. What awaited them just beyond the streetlight? Were they truly escaping the clutches of the night, or were they running toward a new terror that waited in the shadows? They raced across the yard, heartbeats synchronized in terror. The laughter twisted around them like a noose. "Keep going, Emma. Don't look back," Jake shouted, though instinct tugged at him to glance over his shoulder. Just ahead, the streetlight flickered like a dying star, casting long, quivering shadows. Each step felt like a leap into an unknown nightmare. What was chasing them? He couldn't shake the visions of those contorted faces, grinning with malicious glee. Jake squeezed Emma's hand tighter, as if fortifying her with courage. Fear gnawed at him. What if they were already too late? Near the streetlight, the shadows rippled, curling around the base like smoke. He could hear whispers threading through the air, words indistinguishable yet laced with mockery. As they approached the light, Jake felt a glimmer of hope. Almost there. Just a little further. Emma stumbled, her foot catching on the uneven pavement. Jake! I can't. He spun around, grabbing her arm before she fell. You can. You have to. Suddenly, the laughter erupted more fiercely, jagged and wild, a cacophony that clawed at the edges of his mind. Don't run away, come back, it beckoned, each taunt like a dagger. With one desperate push, they launched themselves into the light. The second they crossed the threshold, Jake felt a strange weight lift. He looked back, sweat mingling with the chill night air, but the shadows halted. The figures paused at the edge, as if repelled by the light. Did we lose them? Emma panted, her breath forming small clouds in the night. I don't know. Jake's voice quivered. But we can't stay here. The night was still, too still. The soft rustle of leaves and distant nocturnal sounds greeted them in place of that haunting laughter. For a moment, clarity washed over him, but it quickly evaporated, replaced by a growing sense of dread. Where do we go? Emma asked, looking up and down the empty street, the houses looming like silent sentinels, unyielding and cold. Let us find shelter somewhere safe, he spat out, fear igniting his determination. They took off again, adrenaline surging, heading toward the old, abandoned diner at the end of the block. Its flickering neon sign, half burnt out, barely illuminated the path ahead. He pushed open the door, which squealed like a wounded animal. The smell of mildew and decay enveloped them. Darkness lay thick inside, clinging to the corners like a predator, waiting for prey. Do you hear that? Emma whispered, glancing nervously around. Jake strained to listen. It was faint at first, but there it was, the soft cackling, echoing from deep within the diner's belly. It can't be. They exchanged glances, terror bubbling in their throats. Let us hide. Emma urged, but Jake hesitated at the threshold. Something was off, there was an inexplicable pull drawing him further inside. Just a minute. We can't be running forever, Jake muttered, stepping cautiously past the threshold. Cracked vinyl booths lined the walls, shadows creeping over them, twisting into grotesque forms. Suddenly, the laughter crescendoed, surrounding them. Come back, play with us. The cacophony engulfed him, it felt like they were being wrapped in shadows once again. Jake! Emma's voice snapped him back, she was already crouched behind the counter. What are you doing? I don't know, he stammered, drawn in by the call. But don't you feel it? They want us, they're excited. As if sensing their presence, something stirred from the back. The shadows merged, forming a towering, shapeless mass, eyes like embers boring into Jake. You can't hide forever, comes to play, it rasped, its voice a cold wind snaking through the diner. Jake's heart raced, a mix of revulsion and curiosity twisting inside him. We don't want to play. He cried, but even to his ears, it sounded hollow. The mass pulsed closer, and the chatter intensified, almost drowning out his thoughts. Turning, he raced back toward Emma, eyes wide with fear. He had to leave the pull of that terrible laughter behind. As they stumbled into the back of the diner, the shadows dripped toward them, eager and hungry. We need to find a way out of here, he shouted. But would escaping the diner lead them to safety, or right back into the arms of the darkness? Jake felt the walls closing in, but just as he pushed through the door, something flickered in the darkness, something far worse than they had ever imagined. What had been waiting for them deeper in the diner? And would they really survive the night? The door slammed shut behind them, cutting off the laughter that still echoed in his ears. The quiet was oppressive, wrapping around them like a smothering cloth. They stood in the dim hallway of the diner, barely illuminated by flickering bulbs overhead, casting ghostly shapes on the cracked linoleum floor. "Where do we go now?" Emma breathed, eyes darting, trying to pierce through the blackness. Jake felt the cold sweat trickle down his back. They were trapped in a labyrinth of nightmares that he gulped down fear and took a step into the darkness, then another. Beneath the stagnant air, the diner felt alive, pulsing with a hidden energy that prickled at his skin. "We're looking for an exit," he whispered, but his voice felt small, lost. The walls tightened around them, as though the diner itself conspired to keep them within its claustrophobic grasp. Shadows flitted in the corners of his vision. He couldn't tell if it was his imagination or something far more sinister lurking just out of sight. "Jake!" Emma's voice trembled, cutting through his thoughts. "This place, I'm not sure it's safe." "It isn't." He turned back to her, his mouth dry. "But staying still isn't safe either." They ventured deeper, the shadows swelling around them. With every passing moment, the whispers grew louder, a seductive echoing that gnawed at his mind. "Play with us, stay with us." It was a dreadful invitation that made his stomach clench. Rounding a corner, they stumbled into a small storeroom. Boxes piled high on shelves loomed over them like silent witnesses. "We can hide here," Jake suggested, glancing over his shoulder. The door was still ajar, giving way to that haunting muffled laughter outside. "Jake, it's too tight," Emma whispered. "We'll be trapped." Her eyes widened as she eyed the tiny space. She grasped his arm, desperation evident in her grip. "We can't stay. We have to keep going." Just as they crossed into the room, the shadows seemed to darken, pulling in close as if gauging their intentions. Jake could feel an unnatural heat radiate from the darkness, a suffocating pressure pressing on his chest. Okay. Let us move," he finally replied, his pulse racing. He chose a small door at the far end, a flicker of light beckoning from the other side. As they approached, the door creaked open, and the chill air poured in, more frigid than outside. "What's back there?" Emma murmured, letting out a shaky breath. "I don't know, but it's better than standing here," Jake insisted. He stepped through, the light spilling over them like a lifeline. Inside, they found an old dining room, untouched by time yet covered in a thick layer of dust. The tables were frozen in place, plates still set as if the last customers had vanished mid-meal. But there was something else. An odd shimmer emanated from the far wall, warping the air. "Jake, look!" Emma pointed, fear evident in her voice. As he turned, the shimmering coalesced into a figure, a girl not much older than them. She stood in a torn waitress uniform, her eyes vacant, lips curling into a smile that held no warmth. "Join us for dinner?" "We've been waiting," she said, her voice a sweet sing-song that twisted into a sinister tone. "Who are you?" Jake stammered, stepping back instinctively. "Just a friend," the girl replied, laughter creeping into her tone. "We don't get many visitors. Don't be scared." But behind her, shadows writhed like restless serpents, their forms coiling and stretching. The laughter grew louder, engulfing them once more. Suddenly, the door slammed shut, echoing through the room. The girl tilted her head, the smile fading into something deeply unsettling. "You can't leave." "Not yet." Jake's heart raced. They were trapped, ensnared in a web of darkness as laughter swirled around them, binding them tighter. He could feel the walls closing in. There had to be a way out, there had to be, but the real question slammed into him like a fist: what would they have to do to escape? And what would they have to face before the night was over? Would they be forced to join the twisted dance of shadows, or could they find a way to fight back against the pull of the diner and the girl who waited with hungry eyes? Jake's mind raced, grappling with the impossibility of the situation. The girl before them seemed to shift, the shadows wrapping around her, merging as if she was a part of them. He felt the weight of her gaze, icy and probing, like she was measuring their fear. "Look, we can't stay here," he finally croaked, his throat feeling dry as sandpaper. "What do you want from us?" The girl laughed, a tinkling sound that twisted through the air, sending cold shivers crawling down his spine. "You haven't guessed. Dinner is served. Our little gathering, it's an invitation." Her eyes sparkled with a predatory glint, and Jake felt a tremor of dread course through him. Emma shook her head, her voice a whisper. "Jake, we have to get out." She took a step back, but only found the hard wall behind her. "Where would you go?" The girl taunted, her smile widening, revealing unnaturally sharp teeth. The shadows around her surged, a hungry wave that seemed to lash out, threatening to pull them into the void. Jake's pulse quickened as panic clawed at his insides. "We're not like them," he shouted, pointing at the shadows, trying to fortify his voice. "Are you sure?" The girl's laughter echoed, and she flicked her wrist. The shadows morphed, revealing snippets of what once was blurred images of patrons frozen mid-laughter, their faces twisted in horror, eyes wide. "Stop. Just stop." Emma shrieked, the sound tearing from her throat. They hadn't come to this place. They should have known better. They should have left when they had the chance. "Ah, but there's no leaving. You've crossed the threshold," the girl crooned, starting to inch closer. Suddenly, the air grew heavy, thick with a suffocating dread. Jake spotted a flicker of hope, a door at the far end, partially concealed by a curtain. "Emma! That way!" he shouted, pointing. "Are you crazy? She'll now," he urged, breaking into a sprint. Emma followed, her breath heavy with fear. They dashed toward the door, the laughter swelling behind them, a sinister cacophony that seemed to grow angrier with every step. Just as they reached the door, something icy brushed against Jake's arm, and he stumbled, nearly falling to the ground. Shadows clawed at them, their tendrils grasping at their legs, desperate to pull them back. Emma reached for him, grasping his hand tightly. "Hold on." Her voice was fierce, but panic laced through her words. With one frantic shove, Jake pushed the door open, and they burst through, stumbling into another room, this one starkly different. This space was illuminated by a ghastly green light, casting everything in unnatural hues. It felt like they were in the guts of the diner now, pulsating and alive. The smell of grease and something foul hung thick in the air. "Jake, where are we?" Emma gasped, wiping the sweat off her brow, scanning the room. The walls were slick, like the inside of some grotesque creature. Tables and chairs were overturned, and the unsettling laughter echoed even here, whispering a promise of never-ending dread. "I don't know," he admitted, heart pounding in his chest. "But we need to find a way out now." Suddenly, from the side, the door they had just come through slammed shut with a deafening thud. The shadows pooled in the corners, writhing eagerly, and the girl's laughter rang out again, warped and echoing. "Did you really think you could escape?" she cooed, her form flickering in and out of focus. "The real feast is about to begin." Jake felt his stomach drop. They hadn't just entered a room, they had stepped into a trap, a twisted nightmare of their own making. And the only question left was how long they would survive. As the shadows began to stir, curling toward them with a mind of their own, Jake knew one thing: they hadn't seen the worst of it yet. What horrors awaited them in this strange chamber? And did the girl hold the answers they desperately needed to escape? The shadows thickened, swirling and pulsing like a living entity, hungry for something or someone. Jake felt them crawl towards him, brushing against his skin like a cold whisper. Emma's grip on his hand tightened, her knuckles pale and strained. "We have to move," he rasped, revulsion flooding his mouth as the rancid smell clawed at his senses. He darted to the nearest overturned table, the legs splintered and broken, but it offered a sliver of cover. "This way." Emma followed, her breath hitching in her throat. As they crouched behind the table, Jake's heart thundered in his ears, drowning out the laughter that echoed through the room, a chorus of distorted glee. Why is she doing this? Emma whispered, her eyes frantic. What does she want? Dinner. The girl's voice floated through the air, sweet and sickly, wrapping around them like a noose. But first, the fun. I want to play a game, just for you two. Shut up. Just leave us alone. Jake shouted, anger bubbling through his fear. But the more he cried out, the more the laughter consumed him, vibrating through the very walls. The girl stepped into view, her figure bathed in a sickly glow. Shadows fluttered around her, and her smile widened, revealing rows of teeth that seemed to drip with malice. You'll never escape. Not while you're so scared. Jake felt it, the panic gnawing at his insides, threatening to consume him. We're not scared. He yelled, but his voice cracked, revealing the truth beneath. With a dismissive wave, she sent a ripple through the shadows, causing the walls to tremble. Oh, sweet Jake, the shadows love fear. They thrive on it. The more you fight, the more they crave you. From beneath the overturned table, Jake caught sight of something moving. A shadow among shadows, slithering, an extension of the girl herself. It darted closer, and in the green light, Jake saw features emerging, a face, twisted and skewed, just like the diners before them. Look! He shouted, pointing. It's them. The girl's laughter echoed harshly as she twisted to look at the shapes trapped within the darkness. Yes. They're like friends to us now. And soon you'll join them. No. Emma shouted, the desperation raw in her voice. We won tea. Jake's mind raced. We have to fight back. If they crave fear, let us give them something to be afraid of. He glanced at Emma, determination suddenly blazing in his eyes. When I say go, we bolt toward that exit. He pointed at the far wall, where a flicker of gray hinted at another door, possibly another way out. Jake, there's no way, trust me, he insisted, squeezing her hand once before letting it go, feeling the tether of their shared fear. Okay, she breathed, anxiety lacing her tone. On three, he said, forcing confidence into his voice. 1, 2. The shadows shushed suddenly, like a breathless crowd waiting for something terrible. 3. They sprang from their hiding place, rocketing towards the exit. As they sprinted, Jake could feel the shadows clawing at his heels, reaching like desperate hands. Emma gasped, glancing back. Jake, they're right behind us. Just run. They reached the door, the icy metal cold beneath his fingers. The handle rattled but didn't budge. No, no. Panic surged as he yanked it harder. A terrible shriek rose from the shadows, echoing through the chamber, rattling the bones in his skull. Let us out. Emma screamed, pounding against the door as the laughter crescendoed, wrapping around them like chains. Then, just as the shadows leapt forward, claws gleaming, the door swung open, unveiling a swirl of darkness beyond. Go! What are you waiting for? Jake shouted, adrenaline propelling him through the threshold. They leapt together into the void, uncertainty swallowing them whole, as the shadows screamed their displeasure behind them. But what awaited them in this new darkness? What fate had the girl decreed? And were they truly free, or merely moving from one trap to another? The darkness enveloped them, thick and suffocating. Jake felt Emma's presence, her warmth a fragile lifeline in the void. The ground beneath them was uneven, littered with debris that crunched underfoot, a stark reminder of whatever chaos had unfolded here. Where are we? Emma gasped, her breath quickening again. I don't know, just keep moving, Jake replied, scanning the oppressive blackness around them. Any flicker of light seemed extinguished, swallowed by the abyss. The shadows from behind surged closer, their malicious whispers humming like electricity in the air. Come back, the girl's voice teased, echoing eerily throughout the darkness. Shut up. Jake yelled into the void, his voice shaking. You don't control us. A hollow laughter rippled through the space, making Jake's skin crawl. You're nothing without your fear. It's my greatest weapon. Jake's stomach twisted. What had they stumbled into? Was this the girl's domain, or something even darker? They pushed forward, hands brushing against the rough, cold walls of what felt like an endless tunnel. Each step echoed loudly, too loudly in the stifling silence following their exit. "Do you hear that?" Emma whispered, that familiar anxiety creeping in again. Jake nodded, straining to listen. A faint thumping resonated ahead, rhythmic and jarring. It pulsed against the silence, and for a moment, hope flickered to life. "Maybe it's an exit?" he suggested, trying to muster courage. They picked up the pace, dashing towards the sound, hearts racing in synchrony. But as they turned a corner, the exit seemed to vanish. Instead, they found a room, wide and dark, illuminated only by strange shadows dancing on the walls. In the center, a table stood, grotesquely adorned with chilling artifacts, twisted metal, shards of glass, and horrifyingly bone fragments that seemed to twitch under their own weight. "What is this place?" Emma's voice trembled as she squeezed Jake's hand tighter. "Some kind of slaughterhouse?" Jake murmured, his stomach turning. Another pulse of laughter roared through the room, and the girl's form materialized from the shadows again, grinning wickedly. "Welcome to my feast. Aren't you just dying to join?" "No. We're not afraid of you," Jake shouted, his voice wavering, the bravado barely a veil over his anxiety. "Oh, but you are," she said, tilting her head in a mocking manner. "You just don't know it yet." The shadows swirled around her as she pointed at the table. "Would you like to see how your friends taste?" Jake felt a constriction in his chest, cold panic washing over him. "Not our friends," he gasped, instinctively stepping back, dragging Emma with him. "We won't let you." As he spoke, the shadows lunged forward, responding to the spike of his fear. They twisted and morphed, reaching out with claw-like fingers, grasping at Jake's shirt, pulling them back towards the ghastly table. "Fight it!" Emma screamed, trying to wrench free. Jake felt the shadows clawing at him now, fear pulsed through him, a direct line from the darkness to his heart. "Think. We need to show them we're not afraid." "Jake!" Emma cried, panic in her voice as she nearly slipped from his grasp. "They're too strong." But just then, a faint, shimmering light appeared in the distance, cutting through the thick shadow. "Look!" Jake nearly shouted, pointing toward the flicker. "What is it?" Emma breathed, eyes darting with desperate hope. "I don't know, but we need to reach it." He pushed forward, dragging Emma along as they fought against the tide of shadows. But as they regained some ground, the girl's laughter rang out again, louder, more furious. "You think light will save you? You're already mine." The shadows throbbed, a living wave of darkness, ready to crush them. With every ounce of strength, they headed toward the light, but doubt began to creep in. Would they find salvation or end up as another gruesome part of the girl's collection? Just as they approached the shimmer, another voice echoed through the chamber, one that seemed so familiar yet distant. "Jake, Emma, help us." Jake's heart sank. It can't be. As the light pulsed, he hesitated, fear rippling through him. Who was calling for help? And was it worth facing the shadows again, or would this turn out to be yet another trap? In that moment of doubt, the laughter intensified, swallowing the room whole. Would they dare to uncover the truth, or would the shadows finally claim them for good? The shimmering light pulsed, a beacon that both frightened and beckoned. Jake hesitated but felt Emma's hand tighten around his. "We have to see," he urged, his voice steady, as if to convince himself as much as her. They stepped toward the glow, the chill in the air hanging heavy like a thick fog. With every move, the shadows shrieked an angry, twisted symphony that echoed off the walls, reminding them that danger lurked hungrily close. "Jake," Emma whispered, fear flickering in her eyes. "What if it's a trap?" He glanced back at her, seeing the doubt that plagued her innocent heart. "We'll face it together," he assured her. We've come too far to turn back now. The shadows writhed restlessly, angry at their defiance, claws stretching in grotesque silhouettes. The faint whispers urged them forward, urging them to take another step toward the light. As they approached, the source of the glow blossomed into view, a small, cracked mirror reflecting their terrified faces. But behind them, Jake recognized those familiar eyes, friends they had lost in the terrifying chaos of the night. "Help us!" they cried softly, desperation lining their features. "Don't look back. Do not join them." "Tommy!" Emma gasped. "Is that stay strong?" Jake shouted, pulling her closer. "We're here." The shadows lunged, responding to their fear, a wave of writhing darkness leaping toward the light. "Don't let the fear consume you," he urged Emma, trying to maintain the composure that felt so delicate under the splintering tension. The moment felt suspended in air, and with a surge of determination, Jake stepped in front of the mirror, blocking the shadows momentarily. The reflection flickered, the faces of their friends blending unnaturally with the girl's sinister grin. "Your time is almost up," she taunted, her voice dripping venom. "Just one more game, no?" he shouted. "We refuse to play." Taking a deep breath, Jake conjured every ounce of courage he had, collecting the strength that had brought him this far. Emma mirrored his resolve, standing steady beside him as the shadows writhed impatiently. "Together!" he screamed, grabbing Emma's hand and stepping toward the mirror, ready to face whatever lay beyond. They pushed ahead, hearts racing in unison, and as they leaped into the light, they felt the shadows attempt to latch onto them, clawing desperately as they crossed the threshold. Bright warmth enveloped them, and suddenly, they were free, yet the earth still trembled beneath their feet. They landed in a vibrant field, under a sky lit with vibrant stars. The shadows shrieked in rage behind them, but their cries grew distant, dissipating like mist as the children spun to find themselves in the embrace of a new world. "Are we alive?" Emma's eyes sparkled, tears reflecting the starlight. Jake took a deep breath, feeling the warm earth beneath him. "I think so," he said, his voice trembling with disbelief. "We did it." They stood together, just two siblings, surrounded by kindness and laughter that echoed in the distance like a long-lost memory, but then something caught Jake's eye, a flicker of darkness on the horizon. "Wait. We need to go back. We can't leave them." He turned, heart racing at the thought of those he had seen in the mirror, those left behind. "Jake," Emma's voice cut through, urging him to stop. "We can't help them if we don't take care of ourselves first." He hesitated, the weight of the shadows lingering in his chest. "But they need us, I know," Emma whispered, "but we can come back. We have to be safe first." Despair clung to him, but Emma's resolve burned brighter, anchoring him. He clenched his fists and nodded slowly. "You're right, Em. We'll find a way." As they turned away from the distant darkness, the stars shimmered above, a reminder of hope, guiding them to safety, shining brightly against the restless night. Together, they took a step forward, leaving the shadows of Maplewood, knowing they had survived not just another Halloween, but a fight against something sinister. They vowed to return not as victims, but as the brave souls ready to conquer the night, hand in hand. Ready to wipe the smiles off every twisted face and free those who'd been taken. And as dawn broke, the sky ignited with hues of orange and pink, they held on to the hope that perhaps, just perhaps, love and bravery could triumph even against the darkest of fears. Now's the time to take action, friends. You need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss out on our next exclusive stories that dive into the unknown. Smash that like button now to help us feed the algorithm and reach more fans just like you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. And for the love of all things spooky, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to show your support. We've got many more chilling tales coming, and you don't want to miss a beat.